Hello students! Today we are working this problem together. What number line shows the solution to 4 parentheses x minus 4 close parentheses equals negative 28? So we want the number line that shows the solution, and here is our equation. Now if you look at the equation, it has a parentheses. And usually when we have parentheses, we solve what's inside the parentheses first. But since the variable is inside the parentheses, we do not know what number we are going to subtract 4 from. So in order to be able to do this, because I cannot do x minus 4, I have no value yet, I have to use distributive property to eliminate this group. So let me show you what that's going to look like. So let's rewrite it here. I have 4 parentheses x minus 4. Okay, so the distributive property says that we can multiply this factor times each one of these. Okay, so we're going to multiply the 4 times the x and the 4 times the 4. So 4 times x. If I have 4 times x, that means I have the x 4 times. So I will have 4x. And then we have minus 4 times 4. What's 4 times 4? 16. Okay, so we have simplified this part of the equation. So let's rewrite our equation now using what we have after we use the distributive property. We have 4x minus 16 equals negative 28. Okay, so remember that when we are using inverse operations to solve the equations, we want to make sure that we are doing the same thing to both sides of the equation. So one of the things that I like to do is draw a line, just so that I am remembering that whatever I'm doing to one side on the line, it's happening on the other side of the line, because whatever happens on one side of the equation has to happen on the other side of the equation so that it can stay equal. So when we're doing inverse operations to solve, we're looking for our x. So here is the x, or our variable, that we want to isolate. We want to leave it by itself. That x has been multiplied by 4, okay, and then they are subtracting 16. So we're always going to, in this case, we're going to leave the multiplication towards the end because we're undoing. So we want to do the opposite of orders of operation. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take care of this negative 16. So we need to do the opposite. If they subtracted 16, to undo that, we are going to add 16. But remembering our rules about equations, whatever I do to one side, I have to do it to the other side. So negative 16 plus 16, they make 0 pairs. And they cancel each other out. Okay, so if you look down here at the bottom, I have made 16 green dots. Those will represent the positives, and 16 red dots. Each dot represents a negative. So a negative and a positive cancel each other out. So every time I have a positive and a negative, they cancel each other out. And so if I have 16 positives and 16 negatives, they're going to all cancel each other out, and we will be left with nothing. So the only thing left will be the 4x. Okay, on the right-hand side of the equation, we have negative 28 and positive 16. So that means we have more negatives. Okay, let's look down here at the bottom at our new picture model. We have 16 positives and 28 negatives. So the 16 positives are going to cancel the 16 negatives. But we still have what kind of numbers left? Negatives. Since there was more negatives, we still have negatives. And how many of them are left? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So we have negative 12 left. Now let's figure out how we would do that with an algorithm. When we have two numbers with different signs, we have to remember our integer rules. So if the signs are not the same, if they are different, we are actually going to subtract. So we would do 28, take away 16. And that gives us 12. That's where we got the 12. And we know it's negative because we take the sign of the number with the greatest absolute value, or the number that's furthest from 0. So 28 is further from 0 than 16. So we would keep that negative. Okay, so now that we have this part of the equation, we're going to make sure we bring down our equal sign. We are on step 2. So in step 2, we see that the 4 is being multiplied by the x. Since the 4 is being multiplied by the x, we have to do the inverse operation. What's the inverse or the opposite of multiplying? Yes, it is to divide. So we will divide by 4. Remember, whatever we do to one side, we must do it to the other side. Now we review. What is 4 divided by 4? 4 divided by 4 is 1. Yes, so we have 1x. That is the same thing as just saying I have x. At last, we have isolated x and it's all by itself, but we still have to evaluate what's on the right. So we have 12 divided by 4, and we have negative 12. So we have to be careful with our sign as well. So let's start with the math. 12 divided by 4 is 3. Now remember our integer rules. If I have a negative divided by a positive, that gives us a negative. So our answer is negative 3. Okay, so now we're going to look at our number lines, and we want to find the closed circle on negative 3. Can you see the one that's marked on negative 3? A. That is correct.